What's up, y'all? AJ Simmons here with another great interview for you guys. Today, I have a special guest. I'm gonna do something a little bit different today. I have Miss Felicia Streeter. How you doing, Miss Felicia?
Hi, I'm awesome. Thank you. I'm great.
Right, and I'll say this one is a little different because Felicia is actually a fellow YouTuber as well, and she's already got her thing going. And I found her interesting because she talks about government contracts. So before we get into all of that, Miss Felicia, could you just give us a little bit about your background and tell us a little bit about who Felicia is?
Sure. So I always say I'm simply Felicia, right? I'm just like everybody else out there, have their business, their dreams, their desires, and they want to make them happen. What probably made me different a little bit is I just take action. But my background is really in teaching and training anyway. I used to teach first and second grade. I've taught at the college level. I've built curriculums and things like that. So I think marrying that with my government background, because I've worked for the government for well over 10 years, Department of Veterans Affairs. So a lot of the service disabled vets and things like that, the cases they do, I used to work those so they can relate. I've worked for the IRS, Department of Defense, Department of Finance. So a lot of different military agencies. And I think that also helps me in being able to decipher those solicitations. Because we always had to, understand and be able to read the things that Congress passed in order to implement them within the government sector. And so that's basically who I am. I mean, I'm just like everybody else. I have a family. I have kids, grandkids. So I have 3 grandbabies. So really, that's where the fun starts. For those of you that don't know, it's not raising the kids, but it's the grandbabies. And so that's what I'm really excited about. And really, being able to change things for my family. So most people, if they've been around me, they know I always say, my passion and my mission is personally, and I like to bring people on in my community that want the same thing, but it's really about changing the game for myself, my family, and my generations to come, and then actually have that spill out into our communities and then really have a positive impact on the world. And I say spill out into the communities because collectively, within my own family, as I teach them the same things, then of course they share it with their friends, right? And then those that come into my community, same thing. So that's just really what I'm all about.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Now, based on that background, for one, like you said, that background definitely helped you with those solicitations when it comes to the government contract. Because like that was one of the things that always scared me away from it was I didn't want to deal with the paperwork. So having that background, you got to definitely give you an advantage. Now, with that background though, because it sounds like you've had some good jobs per se.
Yes.
You want to get into business?
I've always wanted to get into business. Actually, I can remember sitting on the front porch, and I'm from Detroit, Michigan originally. So, we have the big porch and stuff like that. So I can remember sitting on the porch with my mom, a teenager. I'm not even sure if I was in college yet, but telling her I wanted to be a teacher. And then I also wanted to have a business. And so I wanted to, do one during the day, one at night kind of thing is how I thought in my head. But looking back, I've accomplished both. At that time, I didn't know what my business would be because I was a kid, but I knew something business. And so, but who knew the road that I would take, and get into construction, government contract and all those things. But I knew I wanted to have a business. I just always was a desire. And I don't even know where it came from because, my parents were born, in the 31s, 41s. So, that wasn't like the norm. So I had to hear it somewhere. I just don't remember where.
Yeah. Somebody asked me that not too long ago in an interview, and I was like, I kind of can't really pinpoint it. It seemed like it was just easy. Like, I know Grant Cardone, just to go on a quick tangent, but I know Grant Cardone and Gary Vee got into an argument one time because Gary Vee says it's a gene. Entrepreneurs just got born with, it's a gift. And then Gary Vee says, no, anybody can be an entrepreneur. So they were arguing about it, but it's like, at first I was on Grant's side saying that anybody can do it, but the more I start to look at things, it's like, I don't know, it might be a gene because it's just in us. You know what I mean? You really can't pinpoint.
Exactly. And I know both of them. I follow both of them. That's what I was going to say. And I think genuinely it's probably a passion. Can we teach people to be business owners? Oh, for sure. But will they sustain it and stay with it? That's where the passion has to kick in because, it really is no different than teaching them to do anything else. But like I tell people all the time, nobody comes to my door every day knocking saying, hey, did you work on your business today? or hey, you need to get out of bed and do X, Y, Z. And so that's where that passion has to kick in. So that's not, I don't think, learned.
Right. Okay. Now you had a construction company, right?
Yes, I did.
All right. So did you start off with the private sector, or did you go straight into government contracting?
So initially what we did, so just so you know, yes, I had a construction company. I don't build anything. Just so y'all know, people often say, well, how many screws? I don't know how many screws that need. So remember I said business background back there, right? Okay, remember that. So we started out in the private sector, and let me tell you why. Because theoretically, to be honest, we didn't know about government contracting, first of all. But I think even if we had known about government contracting, the requirements, we still couldn't do it. You can't just start a business today and go get a contract tomorrow, because the government has requirements. So with that being said, yes, we started in the private sector, which I think was great because, getting into business, there's things you still have to learn. Even if you know your craft, the back office is totally different. So you got to have all of that in alignment when you start looking at, working with the government. So we didn't know any better back then. It was just what it was. But yeah, we started in the private sector.
Okay. Right now, as far as like minority certifications or any type of special cert that you can get, do you think, like, how important is that when it comes to government contracts?
So you think about it like this, people come to me all the time and they say, should I get into government contracting? Is it a lot of competition in what I'm doing? And I'm like, well, what's competition? First of all, right? And so if you have certifications, think of it as a leg up on the next person, possibly. So you have, in general, certifications, I'm not going to name them all, but you have your woman owned, you have service disabled vet, you have your state hub, you have your federal hub zone, you have the 8A, you have your DBE and things like that. Now, depending on which ones you have, then when the government puts out opportunities, and not just the government, so let me rephrase that, the federal government, you have your state, local, county government, and even corporations, large corporations have diversity programs, and so they too will put out contracts specifically for these minority certifications. So yes, it's a leg up for sure. And I always tell people, apply for all of the certifications for which you qualify, not only what you think you need today, because here's what you don't want to have happen, because I have people come to me all the time and they're like, hey, here's this opportunity. Matter of fact, one of my clients yesterday, it's an opportunity for a woman-owned certification. She's woman-owned, we know it, but her certification expires in about a week or so. Okay. And then the bid is due, say, a week after that. So at that point, she doesn't have the certification. So at that point, we're looking at this opportunity. And I'm like, well, you can't bid this as a woman owned. So it just eliminated her right off the bat. So now she can't bid it because she don't have a certification. So here's what I'm saying. Those certifications are very helpful because the government, corporate, whatever, the various people, they put contracts aside, they set aside money for these minority opportunities. And so if, for example, AJ, you and me were doing the same work and we were going off after an opportunity and it was set aside for woman owned, well, you can't bid it because you're not woman owned. So we just X'd you out the way and you could be the best in the business, doesn't matter. So it helps eliminate the competition, and I think it gives you a leg up. So I say get them, and most of them, here's the thing, they don't cost you anything to get them but your time. Some states have now started charging, but the cost is minimum. It's like $100, $150. And I think we have to get out of this mindset of it's costing me, I have to spend this, and reframe that and say, not how much is it going to cost me, but how much will this make me? And so when you look at it like that, $100, $150 for a certification at the opportunity, what's going to be before you, wherever you're at in your business, whether it's a $10,000 contract, $25,000, $100,000, was it not worth $150?
Right. That's so many gems right there. I'm sitting here trying to figure out which one I want to take and run with. Because the first thing you said was, I asked a few people many times before who dealt with government contracts and certifications, and I didn't get an answer as clear as this one. I like what you said about corporations having set aside programs as well. So because I always wondered, like, Are certifications only important when you're dealing with government contracts? If you don't deal with government contracts, do you need them? So you just answered that. You absolutely
Yes.
should get it.
Yes.
And then also you pointed out the fact that even if you had to pay to get them, like don't look at that as some type of expense. It really is an investment. And I literally just did a video like 2 days ago because you don't have a bidding app calculated clean.
Yes.
And somebody was complaining because they had to pay the $24.99. I'm like, wait a minute. First, it's only
$24.99.
It's $25.
Wow. Right.
Besides, it's like it's an investment, not a expense. So I love both of those gems that you dropped right there. Now I have to ask you this too. So how realistic is it for somebody to get into government contracting and then just come? Like, is it even realistic to get $1 million contract within your first year in business?
Well, probably not. And a lot of people come with this misconception. Like, I have people come work with me privately and they're like, oh, in, this year or 6 months or in the next 12 months, I want $1 million contract. And like, we're starting from scratch. So what's the reality? Probably not, because here's the thing. We have to, one, set the foundation, get you registered with the government, all of that stuff. It's going to take time. We can do it really quickly, but most people don't move as fast as I can move. So it's at their pace. And then, that's the foundation. Now you have to build up some experience, right? Because the government is not going to give you $1 million contract. And the only experience you have is doing $10,000 contracts. So here's what I'm saying. When we try to grow our business, you want to grow and be able to sustain that growth and then keep repeating that process. So even if you're doing 6 figures, like $100,000 a year, it's still unlikely that the government is going to give you $1 million contract. Very unlikely. And here's the reason why. We have to look at the numbers here. It's money. And the larger the amount, the more risk they're taking with you. And so if you don't have a lot of experience, you don't have any experience handling projects at that level, then that's a big risk for them. And so I can almost tell you they're not going to take that risk. I mean, theoretically, I wouldn't either. When I'm subbing out work, I'm not giving you $1 million contract and you've never done that before, because there's paperwork and then you have to be able to manage that money. And a lot of people sleep on that. They start their businesses and they're doing work and this and that, and they're not even keeping their books.
Right.
So that tells me you can't manage money. So why would I give you $1 million contract? How are you going to manage the $1 million? And not to say they're going to give it to you all at one time, but I mean, divide $1 million over a year. Those are some nice checks. And the money could go left real quick if somebody does not know how to manage it. So you have to think about that. And just in setting your goals, make it a stretch for sure, but also make it realistic.
I love that. Now, we talked about this local, state, and federal government contract opportunity. So do you have a preference between the three?
Yes, whatever it is at the time. So let me explain that.
Okay.
My thing is, if I was just starting out like the viewers probably are, what is your fastest path to cash? That's the first thing. Now, I do have people that'll come into my programs and they specifically say, I only want to do state contracts. I just want to stay in my local area and I want to work with my local people. And that's fine. It's their business. We created our businesses to do what we want. No problem. But you have to, decide your preferences for your business. So we definitely always talk about that in my boot camp. What is your preferences? That's the first thing, because that just dictates everything else we do. Now, with that being said, I have some people come and they're like, I want to generate cash. I need cash flow. I want to get out my job. Okay. So that all says cash flow. So when we say that, then my thing is, let's look at all the opportunities that are possibly out there and which one will get you to your goal the fastest. So if that means state contracts, then guess what? I say state contracts, because that means we found something out there that you can definitely jump on and get some opportunities. If we go look at the SAM Beta site or the beta.sam site, and we see it's an opportunity there that we can bid, okay, let's do that. Now, that's still not to say we couldn't bid both of them at the same time, because we can. So really, we're just looking to see what opportunities are out there and let that dictate where you start, if you're open to the possibilities of all the things versus saying, I only want to do one particular thing.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, how are the payments? Like, how are the payment terms with government contracts? Is it net 30? Do they pay it up front, or is it half here, half then? Like, how do they usually work?
One of my friends, and you interviewed her well, I think it was recently. I caught the replay, so I don't remember the date. Um, I can't remember her name. I don't want to pronounce it wrong. But anyway,
Is it a key?
no, I think it was Shanina. It's Sheena. I think that's how she pronounced her. I don't remember. But anyway, she does janitorial.
Yeah.
And she was able to get paid up front on a contract. She was shocked, and I was shocked when I heard it, because it's highly unlikely that they'll pay you up front in most cases. So here's what usually happens with the payments. And then again, it depends on the contract. So we have to keep that in mind. So let's say you have a contract that is going to take you 2 weeks to do. Well, okay, that's probably net 30, more than likely, but it's a one-time thing, right? So you've done the work, you invoice them, and then within 30 days you get paid. Done deal. Now, some opportunities, I have people bidding opportunities that's 1 year with some option years. Those are juicy contracts. That means you're going to get paid for the next 5-10 years. So we love those. And then that means you're going to be doing work on a consistent basis all the time. So what happens is you're working every day or however it is on that project, but consistently month after month. So now we're invoicing the government once a month, and we get paid once a month. So now you're getting paid every month. And theoretically, a lot of times, yes, it'll say net 30 days. So what that means is net 30 days from the day of invoice, and they've accepted the invoice, because people will invoice and they don't do what they're told to do. And so then they'll say, oh, the government pays slow. No, they don't. You didn't send the right information. A lot of times, depending on what it is, you may have to have certified payroll. Well, they send the invoice without the certified payroll. Well, they can't accept your invoice. So the date doesn't start for them to pay you, right? So it's net 30 days from the date of you sending in all of the documentation, which they've already told you about it anyway in the solicitation. So, it's not that they didn't tell you, but that's one way. Now, sometimes, depending on the opportunity, depending on your level of knowledge and what you ask for, I always tell people you have not because you ask not. You can ask for net 14 days, okay, which means from the date of an accepted invoice, you'll get paid in 14 days. So if you're doing a contract, say for over the next year, every month you invoice on the 1st, by the 15th, you're paid like clockwork. I've only had one time where the government paid late in all the years I've been doing government contracting. One time. And really the only reason is because the contracting officer went on vacation and nobody else did it. Cool. But our payout on this one invoice, I think it was like, I don't know, maybe 1.2 million or something, whatever it was. So they were late paying us. So just like the government in their contracts will say, if we don't deliver by the due date of whatever it is, they can back charge us, right? Well, when they pay late, they have to pay interest. And so on a, $1.2 million contract or billing, and they pay late, that's a nice little amount of free money. Yeah. So they only did it one time, because you can best believe they were on their P's and Q's after that. I'm sure somebody got in trouble for that, right? But so what I'm saying is, when you invoice them correctly, you get paid like the contract says, and it's stated in the solicitation. So it's no surprise of how you're going to get paid. Now, in your paperwork and things, you can ask for net 14 days, and a lot of times as small businesses, they'll give it to us. And the other thing is, a lot of times on contracts where we have to mobilize. Okay, when I say mobilize, I mean, say we're coming in from a different state, or we can be in the same state, but we're going to drop materials on the project, whatever that is, right? So sometimes we can start invoicing from the time we mobilize. Now that's a conversation you have with the contracting officer again, because on larger contracts, we always have like kickoff meetings. So at the kickoff meeting, you have the owners of the company, you have the contracting officer, key people. And I always ask, because I do the office paperwork, the financials, things like that. My question is always, what do you need from me to get paid? And they'll say, it's in the solicitation. I know. I just want to hear from you and make sure nothing's changed, because I'm all about my money and I want it on time. So I'm going to verify in this meeting, what do you need? And then the other thing is, sometimes, it's little things they ask for, like who signs an invoice when you send it to somebody? Never. Well, this one contracting officer wanted us to sign it. The owner had to sign it. So if we didn't sign it, it didn't get paid. Right. So very little things like that, you just have to be mindful of. As long as you give them what they ask for, they will pay you on time.
Got it. I think our government contract questioned you enough today, so you gave me enough reading. So if somebody did want to start with government contracts, obviously they should definitely go follow you and check out, subscribe to that Felicia Street YouTube channel. Yes. How else could they get started? Any other tips as far as other than subscribe?
So you know, as far as information that I have out there, definitely my YouTube channel has a lot of information. You can also check out my website if you like to read. I have the same stuff on my blog with the video, so that work as well, and that's just feliciastreeter.com. But here's what you want to do if you're looking to get into government contracting. Start with the foundation. You need to set a solid foundation. So I'm going to give you the steps right here. I'm going to lay it out for you. So if you're, you know, of course you have to set up your business, right? You're going to get your entity structure, whatever that is. And I don't suggest one over the other. I always say consult your attorney, your CPA, or whoever, because they know more about you and sheltering your money. I mean, that's the basis of the entity structure. And so you want to make sure it benefits you. So once you set up your business, you know, all of that stuff, your bank account, I'm not going to get into that. Everybody knows that stuff. But once you set up your business and you say, okay, now I want to get into government contracting, the first thing you want to do is you have to, and get your tax ID, of course, you need that. You're going to get your DUNS number. Okay. Now they're going away with that at the end of the year. So that's going to be different at the end of this year. But as of right now, you're going to get your DUNS number. And then you need to pick your NAICS codes. Okay. After you have your NAICS codes, then you can go register at the SAM website. So, you know, to get into the government system, you want to register there. Why? Because it's required. And two, that's how they pay you. So you want to get your money. So, and the things I just shared before that, you need that information in order to do the SAM registration. So it's step by step. So once you do your SAM registration, the next thing is you have a CAGE code. Now you can apply for the certifications for which you qualify. So you apply for all the certifications for which you qualify. After you do that, the next thing is to start your business development and marketing and looking for opportunities. Now, if you don't know how to bid contracts, you have to learn how to bid contracts. If you don't know how to read the solicitations, you have to learn how to do that. If you don't know the government terminology, you need to know that as well. But that's the process of what you would do, you know, to get into the government systems and start finding opportunities. So once you do that, you're good to go. Another tip I always say, find out who's your customer, because the government is really big, if you haven't noticed. And just because someone may use your product or service does not mean they buy it. So you always want to find out who the buyer is. And that's why you need to find out who's your customer. And when I say that, I mean, who's writing the check. That's who you want to get in touch with. And so those are the things that you need to do to get into government contracting. Now, again, anything you don't know as far as the bid process and things like that, you just have to learn them. You know, you're going to have to do the due diligence and learn those things.
Yeah, and the best way to learn it is they need to follow you, right?
Yes, I talk all about it on my YouTube channel. I have a boot camp as well, the Contractor's Edge boot camp, where we focus on getting your first bid done. So yeah.
Absolutely. No, for real. Like if I ever get into government contract, I'm definitely coming to see you. So.
Well, it looks like you're very busy, so I don't know.
Right. I don't know. But listen, so what made you even want to hop on YouTube and start sharing your knowledge?
You know what? Here's what happened. I did a video, and I don't remember how many years ago, but what happened is I did this one video. And the only reason I did the video is because someone that does video wanted to shoot a video for their stuff, right? So I wrote the script of what I would say, because it's, you know, my business. And I was just sharing my story about being a government contractor. I wasn't even teaching government contracting. I was still doing government contracting in the construction company. And so I just did the video for them, blah, blah, blah. Mind you, I started another business. I was doing bookkeeping, but this video was out there on YouTube. And people started reaching out and saying, hey, can you help me with government contracting? Hey, can you help me with government contracting? From one video that I wasn't doing anything with YouTube like for years. It was just there. And people started reaching out. And so because people were reaching out, I'm like, and of course I knew government contracting. I'm like, okay, maybe I should, you know, make this shift and start teaching government contracting and do more on YouTube, because that's where they're coming from. And so the same thing I told you guys about whether you start with the state, city, county, federal government, or corporate, where's the cash flow coming from? And if you get out there into the market, it will tell you where you need to be if you pay attention.
That's perfect. It's funny. It's like my story is very similar to that
Really?
because I just started documenting on YouTube about my cleaning company just starting off.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, I'm getting questions. Can you teach me this? Or can you teach me that? I'm like, well, I might be on to something. It's like, and like you said, you had a teaching background. You love to teach. I always knew I wanted to teach my people, like, okay, but anytime I learn something about money or business, I want to go tell somebody.
Yes.
And then it kind of led me into the direction of creating programs like my starter kit and all of that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's crazy.
I think that's really nice. I was like, that is cool. Like really to help people that have cleaning companies to get into the business. It's like done for you in a box.
Yeah, pretty much. It really is.
Work out. Yeah.
It really is. So I always ask people this question towards the end of the interview, and I got to ask you. So if somebody's watching this video, they on the sideline, they thinking about starting their new business, whatever business it might be, what kind of encouragement words or unencouraged, whatever you got to say, like what would you want to say to that person?
I would say leap. A lot of people are standing in fear of the unknown and not trusting in themselves. But I find it, I don't want to say funny, but I find it interesting that we trust in other people, because if you think about it, if we get up and go to work every day and do a job and expect this company to pay us, we're really trusting in them and not ourselves. So one thing is you just have to leap. I'm not saying quit your job today if that's your situation, but I can tell you that you can darn sure build it on the side. So you can do that, leap, just get into action and start doing it. I don't care if you only have an extra 2 hours a week, then make it the best 2 hours that you have. The other thing is bet on yourself. Stop betting on everybody else. We invest in the stock market, which, I do too, but, I'm just saying. But we invest in all these other things and people, and we'll put money into it, and we don't know them. Like, who do you know better? Yourself. Who can you bet on if you can't bet on anybody else or depend on anybody else? It's always yourself. And I can gather when you put your money on the line, you make up your mind and start telling people what you're going to do, just so they don't say you're wrong and prove you wrong, you're going to do it. So bet on yourself and stop betting on everybody else.
That was perfect. That was perfect. How can we follow your journey, Miss Felicia? Again, I know you said a couple of things, but go ahead and let us know again.
So definitely on YouTube. I think that's where this is going. You guys will see us on YouTube. So just, follow me on YouTube. It's Felicia Streeter. You can check out my website. It's Felicia Streeter. And I'm on social media too. Just not as much, but I'm there too. So, but yeah, definitely my website. You can reach out to me. There's a contact page on my website, that kind of thing. I'm on Instagram at Felicia Street. I'm on Facebook. So I'm on LinkedIn, all of the major social media platforms. I'm on those as well. So yeah, just reach out and say, hey, and if you came from AJ, let me know that too. I always like to know where people are coming from. That's another thing. You always have to track your metrics and your money.
Absolutely. Maybe I'll set up like set up some type of sub link or something where it will forward to your site for sure. But either way, thank you, Miss Felicia. I truly appreciate you for taking the time to come up here. I've been trying to get you for so long, and I'm so glad I finally got you. We finally made the schedule work. So,
I have to reciprocate and bring you to my website, because maybe you can teach some people, on the janitorial side, because I have a lot of students in the boot camp and even in my community that they're in janitorial, a lot of people. So I'm sure I listen to what you're saying.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I look forward to it. I'm ready anytime you're ready. So thank you.
All righty. Sounds good.
Have a good one. I appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Bye now.